You've been told to push, to grind, to fight, but that is not the path of power. The shift reveals the ancient truth. Alignment, not effort, unlocks your destiny. What if surrender isn't the end, but the very beginning of your dream life? Listen, and remember what your soul has always known. The Shift. Introduction. In the depths of time, a truth has whispered through the ages, carried on winds of wisdom from one generation to the next. This ancient knowledge speaks of a power so fundamental, so intrinsic to the fabric of existence, that its simplicity has rendered it invisible to those who seek complexity. You have been taught that life must be wrestled into submission, that success comes through strain and struggle, that happiness must be pursued with relentless determination. Yet these teachings are but shadows cast upon the wall of human understanding, obscuring a deeper truth that has always resided within you. The universe operates not through force, but through flow, like water finding its natural course, like leaves dancing on an autumn breeze, like stars wheeling through the infinite night. All of creation moves in perfect harmony when unimpeded by resistance. This wisdom has been preserved in the sacred texts of every tradition, whispered in temples and monasteries, passed down through mystics and sages. It speaks of a law so fundamental that it governs every particle of existence. What you resist persists. What you embrace transforms. The path before you is not one of acquisition, but of remembrance. It is not about adding more knowledge, but about unlearning the ways of struggle that have been impressed upon your consciousness. Within these chapters lie not new teachings, but eternal truths that your soul has always known. You stand now at the threshold of a great awakening. The very fact that these words have found their way to you is testament to the universe's perfect orchestration. For in this moment, as your eyes trace these lines, a recognition stirs within, a remembrance of what you have always known, but temporarily forgotten. This is your invitation to remember, to awaken, to return to the natural state of being where creation flows not through effort, but through alignment. Part 1. The Awakening of Release. Chapter 1. The Silent Power of Surrender. In a bustling city, where the rhythm of life pulsed with ceaseless activity, lived Clara, a woman whose days were mapped with precision. Her calendar was a fortress of carefully planned moments, each hour a brick in the wall she built against uncertainty. She rose before dawn, exercised with military discipline, and orchestrated her workday down to the minute. Yet beneath this perfectly constructed facade, Clara's spirit withered. The more she grasped for control, the more life seemed to slip through her fingers like water. One morning, as exhaustion clouded her vision and her hands trembled over yet another perfectly planned schedule, Clara collapsed. In that moment of complete surrender, something extraordinary happened. The world didn't end. Instead, a profound peace washed over her, and for the first time, she heard the quiet voice of her own soul. The universe speaks in whispers, not shouts. When you release your grip on life's steering wheel, you don't crash, you float. This is the paradox of surrender. In letting go, you gain everything. Your endless striving creates a static that drowns out the universe's guidance. Each attempt to force life into your chosen mold only creates resistance, like swimming against a current that wishes to carry you home. True power lies not in controlling the river of life, but in aligning with its flow. When you surrender, you don't give up, you give over. You acknowledge a wisdom greater than your limited perspective, a force more knowing than your carefully laid plans. In the mountains far from civilization, Thomas, a former soldier, sought refuge from his memories of war. He carried his military training like armor, approaching each day as a battle to be won. Until one morning, standing by a crystal-clear lake, he witnessed a leaf floating effortlessly on the water's surface. The leaf didn't fight the current, it danced with it. At that moment, Thomas removed his boots, placed them by the shore, and stepped barefoot into the water. This simple act of surrender marked the beginning of his healing. Your journey mirrors Thomas's path. Each time you choose to release control, you step closer to your natural state of being. Surrender is not defeat. It is your soul's homecoming. Sacred practice. As twilight approaches, find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Light a single candle, letting its flame represent the eternal light of universal wisdom. Hold in your mind one aspect of your life where you've been striving too hard. As you watch the flame dance, speak these words. I release my need to control. Speak your intention. I trust in the perfect unfolding of all things. Let the candle burn for a few moments as you feel the lightness that comes with surrender. Chapter 2. The Illusion of Control. In the ancient marketplace of Alexandria, Walter stood before his shop each morning, meticulously arranging his wares. His ledgers contained every possible scenario: drought, flood, war, peace. He calculated risks with precision, believing that if he could only anticipate every possibility, success would be assured. Yet the universe has a way of dancing beyond our careful choreography. When a mysterious illness swept through the city, Walter's carefully laid plans crumbled. His stored goods spoiled. His predictions proved worthless. But as his plans dissolved, something unexpected emerged. Travelers seeking refuge brought new trade routes. His empty storehouse became a gathering place for healers sharing remedies. Without his intricate schemes, Walter discovered a flow of abundance he could never have calculated. The desire to control is the mind's attempt to create certainty in an inherently uncertain world. You grasp at control because you believe it will keep you safe, but this very grasping creates resistance to the natural flow of universal energy. When you attempt to direct every current of life's river, you exhaust yourself swimming against its natural course. The law of attraction responds not to your careful plans, but to your energy of trust. When you release your grip on outcomes, you enter a state of allowing, the true channel through which abundance flows. Your need for control is fear dressed in the garments of preparation. By loosening this grip, you open yourself to possibilities far greater than your limited vision can conceive. In a quiet village by the sea, Marjorie spent 20 years building her dream home. Every detail was planned, every feature carefully chosen. When a great storm swept it all away, she stood on the empty shore, hands empty of all she had created. In that space of complete loss, something shifted within her. As she released her grip on what was, new doors began to open. Travelers needed shelter, and her skill for creating homes found a larger purpose. Her loss became the foundation for a thriving inn that served wanderers from across the world. The universe's plans for you exceed the boundaries of your careful calculations. When you release your grip on controlling outcomes, you create space for magic to enter. Your surrender becomes an invitation for divine orchestration. Sacred practice. Take your journal as the sun sets. In its chapters, write down one area of your life where the need for control has become a burden. Close your eyes and imagine placing this concern into the hands of the divine. Write freely about how it would feel to trust completely, to release the weight of constant vigilance. Let your words flow without judgment, allowing yourself to explore the liberation that comes with surrender. Chapter 3. The weight you didn't know you were carrying. In a small village known for its fine textiles, Eleanor sat at her workbench each day, her fingers moving with practiced precision across fabric and thread. Though her creations were sought after throughout the land, few noticed how her shoulders bent, not from age, but from weights only she could see. With each stitch, she wove into the fabric remnants of ancient hurts, a harsh word from her mother decades past, promises unkept, dreams surrendered before their time. Her masterpieces carried an unseen beauty born of pain, yet this same pain kept her from soaring to greater heights. You too carry invisible weights. They may not be physical like Eleanor's threads and needles, but they shape your reality just as surely as her stitches shaped cloth. These burdens, memories that still sting, expectations that were never yours to bear, fears passed down through generations, create resistance in your energy field. Like a river dammed by fallen trees, your life force cannot flow freely while these obstacles remain. The universe responds not to your words or wishes, but to the vibration you emit. When your spirit is weighted with unprocessed emotion, your frequency becomes too dense to attract the lighter energies of joy, abundance, and love. These shadows from your past become the very architects of your present, building walls between you and your desires. In a distant monastery, Franklin served as keeper of the gardens. For 40 years he tended the roses while carrying a secret that bent his spirit like a branch heavy with snow. One spring morning, watching the dawn paint the sky, he finally spoke his truth to a fellow monk. As the words left his lips, color returned to his world. The roses seemed brighter, the air lighter, and opportunities that had long eluded him suddenly appeared like morning dew on petals. Your freedom lies not in perfecting yourself, but in releasing what was never meant to be carried. Each burden you lay down creates space for light to enter. Each truth you speak aligns you more closely with the universe's natural flow. Sacred practice. Find a quiet moment as twilight approaches. Close your eyes and envision yourself standing beside a gently flowing river. See each burden you carry, each regret, each fear, each unspoken pain. One by one, place them into the current. Watch as the water accepts them without judgment, carrying them away. As each weight lifts, feel the lightness that remains. Open your journal and write, "I release all that dims my light. I am free to shine." Chapter 4. The moment you unclench your soul. In a small cottage on the edge of town lived Ruth, a widow whose shoulders carried the weight of endless worries. Each morning she would wake with her jaw clenched tight, her thoughts coiled like springs ready to snap. The muscles in her neck had forgotten how to yield, just as her mind had forgotten how to trust life's flow. She moved through her days as though braced for impact, her breath shallow, Her spirit contracted against imagined storms. When you hold yourself this way, tight, guarded, prepared for the worst, you create resistance that ripples through every layer of your being. Your physical tension becomes spiritual tension, and this contracted state sends a clear message to the universe. I am not ready to receive. Like a flower that refuses to open its petals, you cannot absorb the light while holding yourself closed. The law of attraction responds to your energetic signature, not your wishes. When your frequency is compressed by fear and anticipation, you broadcast a signal of scarcity rather than abundance. Your clenched spirit becomes a barrier, deflecting the very blessings trying to reach you. In a smoky jazz club across town, Harrison sat at his piano, fingers hovering above the keys. For years, he had played with technical perfection, but something was missing. The soul of the music eluded him. One night, in the middle of a performance, he closed his eyes and did something he had never dated before. He let go of the sheet music in his mind. His fingers softened. His shoulders dropped. And suddenly the music began playing through him rather than from him. The audience fell silent, witnessing the moment when control transformed into grace. Your life is much like Harrison's music. When you soften your grip on how things should be, you create space for divine improvisation. The universe can only flow through an open channel. Sacred practice. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Lie down and close your eyes. Begin at your toes, bringing gentle awareness to each part of your body. As you reach each area, breathe deeply and whisper, I allow. Feel your toes soften, your feet relax, your ankles release. Continue this journey up through your body, paying special attention to places where you hold tension, your jaw, your shoulders, your heart space. With each I allow, feel another layer of resistance melting away. Let your breath become deeper, fuller, as though the universe itself is breathing through you. This practice reminds your body and spirit how to remain open to life's infinite possibilities. Chapter 5. The Myth of Caring. Too much. In a sunlit classroom at the edge of town, Esther stood watching her students file out for the day. Her heart ached with each child's struggle, her mind racing with ways to fix their problems. At night, she would lie awake crafting detailed plans for their success, her thoughts spinning endless webs of worry. Though her intentions gleamed with pure gold, they had become heavy chains, binding both her and those she wished to help. You may recognize yourself in Esther's story. When your care deepens into fixation, you create an energetic entanglement that serves neither you nor those you love. The universe operates through a delicate balance of giving and allowing. When you pour yourself endlessly into others' paths, you disturb this sacred equilibrium. The law of attraction responds not to the quantity of your care, but to its quality. Obsessive attention creates a dense energy field that actually repels the natural flow of good. Like a plant that wilts from overwatering, possibilities shrink under the weight of excessive concern. Your constant monitoring sends a signal of distrust to the universe, suggesting that without your vigilance all would fall apart. In a garden across town lived Leonard, whose roses once struggled beneath his anxious tending. Each day he hovered, pruning, adjusting, fretting over every leaf. The flowers grew pale and weak until one spring, illness forced him to step back. For weeks, He could only watch from his window as nature took its course. When he finally returned to his garden, he found his roses had flourished without his interference. The plants had found their own way toward the light. This truth extends beyond gardens. It touches every relationship, every dream, every sacred aspiration you hold. True care is spacious. It trusts the innate wisdom within all things. When you release your grip on outcomes, you allow divine intelligence to work through natural laws. Your love becomes most powerful when it carries no agenda, when it asks for nothing in return. This is not abandonment, but the highest form of faith, a recognition that the universe holds all things in perfect balance. Sacred practice. Find a quiet moment with your journal. Close your eyes and breathe deeply as you whisper, "I care deeply, but I release completely." Let these words settle into your being. Now open your eyes and write about what healthy detachment means to you. How would it feel to love without clinging, to support without controlling, to trust in the natural unfolding of all things? Let your writing become a meditation on the freedom that comes when care and release dance together in perfect harmony. Chapter 6. The Ego's Last Grasp. In the mountains, where wisdom seems to float on the morning mist, Agnes sat in perfect meditation posture. Her robes were precisely arranged, her crystals positioned with mathematical precision. She had mastered the art of appearing enlightened, every gesture calculated to display her spiritual advancement. Yet beneath this carefully constructed facade, a desperate need for recognition churned. You see, the ego is clever in its disguises. It will readily trade worldly attachments for spiritual ones, exchanging material status for mystical superiority. This substitution often goes unnoticed, for it wears the mask of awakening while clutching tightly to the need to be seen as awakened. The law of attraction responds not to appearances, but to essence. When you attach your identity to any role, even that of the spiritual seeker, you create resistance to your natural state of being. Your true power lies not in appearing enlightened, but in simply being who you are. Consider Emmett, whose name once graced the covers of spiritual books and whose followers numbered in thousands. His teachings filled auditoriums until scandal stripped away his public persona. In the aftermath of disgrace, alone in a small apartment, he discovered something unexpected: freedom. Without the weight of his spiritual reputation, without the constant performance of wisdom, he found what he had been teaching all along: the pure awareness that needs no validation. This revelation awaits you now. The identity you cling to, whether spiritual or worldly, is but a costume worn by the infinite being you truly are. When you release the need to be seen as anything at all, you open yourself to everything you are. Your journey toward awakening paradoxically requires awakening from the identity of one who seeks awakening. This is the subtle wisdom that eludes many on the path. True enlightenment wears no robes, requires no crystals, demands no recognition. Sacred practice. Find a quiet space where you can write freely. Light a candle if you wish, creating a sacred atmosphere for this intimate communion. Take out your journal and begin a letter to your ego. Write, "Dear Ego, I honor the role you have played in my journey. You have protected me, defined me, given me structure when I needed it. Thank you for your service. But now I understand that I am more than any identity you could create. I release the need to be seen as yo. I release the need to prove my worth through gao. I release the need to be known as gao. I choose now to rest in the simple truth of my being, undefined and free, with gratitude and compassion. Let your words flow naturally, acknowledging both the ego's service and your readiness to expand beyond its limitations. When finished, fold the letter and place it beneath your pillow for one night, allowing this intention to work through your dreams. Chapter 7. The Secret Door Called Detachment. In a sunlit kitchen, Beatrice watched her daughter through the window, her hands gripped tightly around a coffee cup gone cold. Every movement her child made toward independence felt like a step away from her heart. She hovered, suggested, guided, yet with each careful manipulation, she felt the invisible thread between them strain rather than strengthen. You too may recognize this pattern in your own life. The tighter you hold, the more life wriggles free from your grasp. This is the paradox that few understand. Love does not require a vice grip to remain true. In fact, the universe operates on a principle of sacred space, the same force that keeps planets in orbit without chains, that allows flowers to turn toward the sun without being told. When you release your grip on those you love, you do not abandon them. You create space for divine timing to work its gentle magic. Your role is not to shape their path, but to trust in their journey. This trust becomes a bridge stronger than any cage of control could ever be. Consider Clive, who tended the royal gardens with a wisdom that surpassed mere knowledge of plants. One season, the king demanded daily reports on the growth of a precious night-blooming jasmine. Clive noticed that the more he checked on the flower, the more it withdrew. "Your Majesty," he finally said, "some blooms open only when we aren't watching." That night, left undisturbed, the jasmine filled the garden with its fragrance. This wisdom speaks directly to your heart now. Every relationship in your life, with children, lovers, friends, even yourself, thrives not through forceful tending, but through conscious allowing. Detachment is not the absence of love, but its fullest expression. It is the courage to trust that what is meant for you will never truly leave, and what leaves is making space for what is meant to be. The law of attraction responds most powerfully to this kind of trust. When you release your grip on outcomes, when you allow others their sacred journey, you align with the natural flow of universal energy. This alignment magnetizes more of what you truly desire: authentic connection, deep trust, and love that returns of its own accord. Sacred practice. Find a quiet moment where you can be fully present. Place your right hand over your heart, feeling its steady rhythm beneath your palm. Close your eyes and breathe deeply into this connection. Now, speak these words with gentle authority. I trust in the unfolding. As you hold this affirmation in your heart, visualize a door that has long been closed, perhaps the door to control, to fear, to doubt. Watch as this door begins to open, not by force, but by grace, allowing golden light to stream through the widening gap. Feel the warmth of this light touching your face, your heart, your entire being. Remain in this space of trust for several breaths, allowing the visualization to deepen with each cycle of breath. Let the light remind you that what you seek is already seeking you, that love multiplies when given space to grow. Chapter 8. The Scent of Stillness. In a small workshop filled with glass vials and delicate instruments, Lucille stood before her workbench, frustration etched across her face. For months she had rushed to complete her signature perfume, mixing essences day and night, willing the fragrance into being through sheer determination. Yet each attempt fell short of the masterpiece she envisioned. You see in Lucille's struggle a reflection of your own relationship with time and creation. The universe operates not by your schedule, but through sacred timing, a rhythm far more intricate than human urgency can comprehend. When Lucille finally collapsed in exhaustion, she discovered something remarkable. The essence she had set aside weeks ago had transformed into its quiet vessel. In stillness, the fragrance had matured into something far more exquisite than her forced attempts could achieve. This truth lies at the heart of manifestation. Creation emerges not from constant doing, but from balanced being. In the space between action and surrender, your desires take form. Like a seed beneath the soil, transformation occurs in the quiet dark, beyond your eyes reaching. Howard, a man who lived among the bustling markets, found this wisdom in an unexpected way. When illness confined him to his bed for 40 days, he raged against the stillness. But as the weeks passed, something shifted. In the absence of motion, he began to hear what he had never noticed, the whispers of his own soul, the subtle guidance of the universe, the answers that had always lived within. The law of attraction responds not to your striving, but to your state of being. When you enter the sacred pause, that space of presence without urgency, you align with the natural rhythm of creation. Here, in this fertile void, inspiration arrives unbidden. Solutions appear fully formed. The path reveals itself not through force, but through listening. Your power lies not in making things happen, but in allowing them to unfold. Like a master perfumer waiting for essences to blend, or a man learning to hear life's whispers, you are invited into the art of sacred stillness. Sacred practice. Find a space where you will remain undisturbed. Settle into a comfortable position and close your eyes. For 10 minutes, let your attention rest gently on your breath. Notice its natural rhythm without trying to change it. When thoughts arise, acknowledge them without attachment and return to the breath. After these moments in silence, take your journal and write down one message that emerged from the stillness. Trust that what surfaces is exactly what you need to hear at this moment. Chapter 9. Your Unseen Allies. In a small cottage at the edge of town lived Dorothy, whose days stretched before her like empty chapters. Each morning she would place 2 teacups on her table, one for herself and one for the phantom of companionship she yearned for. Yet the universe had not forgotten her. It was merely preparing a symphony of synchronicity. You must understand that loneliness is often the cocoon from which awareness emerges. When Dorothy began noticing the repeated appearance of blue butterflies, first in her garden, then in a painting gifted by a stranger, and finally in a dream, she awakened to the language of the universe, speaking directly to her soul. The universe communicates through patterns, through whispers, through seemingly random encounters that carry seeds of meaning. These signs surround you constantly, weaving a tapestry of guidance that becomes visible only when you open your heart to receive it. Calvin, a retired librarian, discovered this truth when he felt an inexplicable urge to take a different route home one autumn evening. Following this gentle nudge led him to an old bookstore he'd never noticed before. Inside, he found not just books, but a group of kindred spirits who would become his chosen family. What appeared as a simple hunch was actually the universe orchestrating a perfect alignment of souls. The law of attraction operates through this invisible network of divine synchronicity. What you perceive as coincidence is actually the universe responding to your deepest intentions. Every meaningful encounter, every chance discovery, every recurring symbol carries a message meant precisely for you. You are held within a vast web of cosmic support. Even in your most solitary moments, unseen forces are arranging circumstances for your highest good. The key lies in recognizing these subtle orchestrations, the repeated numbers that catch your eye, the book that falls open to exactly the page you need, the stranger whose words echo your private thoughts. Sacred practice. As you prepare for sleep tonight, speak aloud to the universe. Show me the way. I am ready to receive your guidance. Keep a notebook by your bedside. Upon waking, record any dreams, no matter how fragmentary they may seem. Throughout the next day, remain alert to unusual coincidences, recurring themes, or unexpected encounters. Write down every sign, symbol, or synchronicity you notice, knowing that each one carries a message meant specifically for you. Trust that the universe is always speaking. You need only attune yourself to its language. Chapter 10. The Sacred Threshold. Virginia stood before the weathered oak door of her ancestral home, her hand trembling above the brass handle. For 40 years, she had lived within these familiar walls, letting fear keep her from the calling that whispered in her dreams. The door before her represented more than wood and metal. It stood as a threshold between the life she knew and the life that beckoned. You too stand before such a door, though it may not be physical. Every soul reaches this precipice where the known must be released for the unknown to unfold. The very act of hesitation reveals how deeply you understand the magnitude of what awaits on the other side. Throughout these teachings, you have discovered that the universe operates through paradox, that control must yield to trust, that attachment must soften into allowing, that action must arise from stillness. Now these lessons converge at your own threshold moment. The door you face is not meant to be forced or analyzed. It asks only for your willingness to cross. When you surrender your grip on the familiar, when you detach from the outcome, when you still your mind's anxious questioning and trust in the intelligence that has guided you here, the door opens of its own accord. Roy, a lighthouse keeper, spent 30 years watching ships pass safely through treacherous waters, while his own vessel remained anchored to fear. One morning, as dawn painted the horizon, he finally understood. The light he tended for others was meant to guide him too. Without planning or preparation, he walked away from his post, following an inner compass he had long ignored. What he discovered was that life had already prepared the way, every apparent obstacle dissolved before his feet, every need met before it fully formed. The shift you seek is not waiting in some distant future. It stands ready now, on the other side of your willingness to step through. All the spiritual principles you have learned culminate in this moment of sacred decision. The universe has already aligned every circumstance. Your only task is to trust enough to move forward. Sacred practice. Find a doorway in your home. Any doorway will serve as your symbolic threshold. Stand before it with reverence, acknowledging that it represents your passage into a new way of being. Place your hand upon the frame, feeling its solidity beneath your fingers. Speak aloud your intention for transformation, not as a wish but as a declaration of what you are ready to become. Then, with full presence, walk through the doorway. Let each step carry the weight of conscious choice. As you cross this threshold, know that you are physically embodying your soul's readiness to shift. Part 2. The Practice of Allowing. Chapter 11. Flow. In a small workshop filled with the gentle ticking of countless timepieces, Alfred bent over his workbench, attempting to synchronize every clock to the exact same second. Day after day he adjusted, tweaked, and calibrated, yet perfection eluded him. The more he tried to control time's flow, the more it seemed to slip through his fingers like water. You too may recognize this struggle, the exhausting effort to make life conform to your precise measurements and expectations. Yet within this ancient wisdom lies a truth that transcends human scheduling. The universe moves not by mechanical precision, but through divine rhythm. When you release your grip on how things should unfold, you enter the sacred current of flow. This state emerges not from passive surrender, but from aligning your energy with the natural momentum of the universe. Flow manifests when inner resistance dissolves, when you cease fighting against life's natural timing. Notice how your breath flows without your conscious direction. Observe how seasons change without your permission. These are the signatures of divine intelligence in motion. When you attune yourself to this rhythm, life begins moving through you rather than against you. In a sunlit studio across town, Edith stood before a blank canvas, her brushes arranged in perfect order. For years, she had planned each painting meticulously, sketching every detail before allowing color to touch canvas. But on this day, something shifted. As she reached for her pencil, an inner voice whispered, "Let the painting paint itself." With trembling hands, she dipped her brush directly into paint and allowed her arm to move without thought or plan. Hours passed like moments as colors flowed and blended of their own accord. When she finally stepped back, she saw before her not just a painting, but a portal, a window into the divine flow she had always resisted. This story mirrors your own relationship with flow. When you release the need to orchestrate every moment, to pre-plan every outcome, you open yourself to the universe's natural choreography. Flow is not the absence of structure, but rather a higher order that emerges when you trust the intelligence that moves through all things. Sacred practice. Select one task from your day, whether washing dishes, writing a letter, or walking in nature. Approach it not as something to complete, but as a dialogue with the present moment. Move at the pace that feels most natural, neither rushing nor dawdling. Notice how your body wants to move, how your energy wants to express itself. Let go of any pressure to perform or achieve. Simply allow yourself to be guided by what feels most harmonious in each moment. This is the language of flow, and through it, the divine speaks. Chapter 12. Faith as Frequency. In a sterile laboratory filled with gleaming equipment, Stanley peered through his microscope, searching for measurable proof of the invisible. His equations lined the walls, each one an attempt to capture the mysteries of existence in neat mathematical rows. "I'll believe it when I see it," he would say, not realizing that the universe operates in reverse. You may recognize yourself in Stanley's quest for certainty. The rational mind demands evidence before investment, proof before trust. Yet the ancient laws reveal a deeper truth. Belief is not the result of seeing. Seeing is the result of belief. The universe responds not to what your eyes witness, but to what your energy broadcasts. When you vibrate in harmony with your desires, treating them as present realities rather than distant possibilities, you activate the magnetic force of creation. This is not wishful thinking, but quantum alignment. Think of your desires as radio frequencies. You cannot see the waves, but you know they exist. Your belief is the dial that tunes you to specific vibrations. When you emanate the frequency of having rather than wanting, you become a matching point for manifestation. In a small garden at the edge of town, Lillian knelt in dark soil, pressing seeds into the earth. No evidence of life showed itself, no sprout, no leaf, no flower. Yet every morning she spoke to her garden as if it were already in full bloom. She felt the joy of abundance before the first green shoot emerged. Her faith was not blind hope, but the natural confidence of one who understands nature's laws. Weeks passed, and while others saw only dirt, Lillian danced among invisible flowers. When spring finally arrived, her garden erupted in a riot of color that matched exactly the vision she had held in her heart. The seeds had responded not to her tending alone, but to her unwavering vibration of certainty. This truth extends beyond gardens to every aspect of creation. The universe doesn't require you to see before you believe. It invites you to believe before you see. This is not denial of current reality, but energetic alignment with a reality you choose to call forth. Sacred practice. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. Speak these words with conviction. I choose to vibrate as if it's already here. Now, allow yourself to fully inhabit the feeling state of your desire fulfilled. Experience the emotions, sensations, and inner knowing of already having what you seek. Let this vibration permeate every cell of your being. Maintain this frequency for several minutes, knowing that your energy is already attracting its physical match. Chapter 13. From Wanting to Receiving. In the mountains of a distant land, Eugene spent his days bent over streams, sifting through silt and stone. His weathered hands trembled not from age, but from an inner desperation that drove him to search endlessly for gold. Each night, he would return to his humble shelter, pockets empty but mind full of tomorrow's possibilities. "When I find it," he would whisper, "then I'll be wealthy." Yet even on days when his pan glittered with precious metal, the feeling of abundance eluded him. You stand now where Eugene once stood, caught in the cycle of perpetual wanting. The energy of desire, when tinged with desperation, becomes a force of repulsion rather than attraction. Your wanting creates distance between you and your dreams, holding them forever at arm's length. The universe responds not to your desires, but to your vibration. When you operate from a state of chronic wanting, you broadcast the frequency of lack. This energy says to the universe, "I do not have," and so it shall be. The law of attraction merely mirrors your dominant state of being. Consider how a flower receives sunlight. It does not strain or grasp or chase the rays. It simply opens its petals in natural receptivity. This is the state of being that attracts abundance. In a small village lived Mildred, who owned little by the world's measure. Yet each morning she would wake and whisper thanks for the warmth of her bed, the breath in her lungs, the light through her window. She lived not in anticipation of future wealth, but in appreciation of present abundance. As she tended her small garden, she didn't yearn for more. She celebrated what was already flourishing. Gradually, without chase or strain, abundance began flowing into Mildred's life. Opportunities arose, gifts appeared, resources multiplied, not because she wanted more, but because she had mastered the art of receiving what was already there. The secret lies not in the intensity of your wanting, but in your capacity to receive. Shift your energy from reaching to welcoming, from seeking to allowing. Let your soul become like an open vessel, ready to be filled by the infinite abundance that surrounds you. Sacred practice. Take your journal and write a list of 10 things you now have that you once desired. Feel how each item was first a wish, then became reality. Let this evidence of past manifestation fill you with trust. Then, with quiet confidence, speak these words: I am ready to receive without chase or doubt. Let this declaration transform your energy from wanting to welcoming, from seeking to knowing. Chapter 14. The Mystery of Non-Attachment. In the fertile valleys where generations had tilled the soil, Horace rose before dawn each day to inspect his fields. His weathered hands would part the young shoots, measuring their growth against his anxious expectations. Hour after hour, he paced the rows, muttering calculations and predictions. The more he watched and worried, the more the crops seemed to shrink beneath his gaze, as if withering under the weight of his attention. You, like Horace, may find yourself caught in the grip of constant monitoring. This ceaseless vigil over your desires creates a subtle yet powerful resistance in the universal field. When you repeatedly check for results, you transmit a frequency of doubt into the very soil of your manifestations. The law of attraction operates through paradox. What you clutch too tightly slips through your fingers, while what you release returns multiplied. Your attention, when driven by fear, becomes a force of restriction rather than expansion. The universe cannot deliver to hands already clenched in worry. Pearl, a weaver of fine tapestries, had dreamed of opening her own workshop for decades. Each year, she would plan and scheme, her mind consumed with the details of her vision. Yet success remained elusive. One autumn morning, sitting at her loom, she finally surrendered the dream she had held so tightly. "If it comes, she whispered, turning her focus purely to the joy of creating. Within months, an unexpected inheritance provided not just a workshop, but an entire textile merchant's house, a gift far grander than her original vision. This is the sacred mathematics of manifestation. Attachment multiplied by 0, while surrender multiplied by infinity. Your desires do not require your constant supervision. They are seeds already planted in the fertile soil of infinite possibility. Your role is not to force their growth, but to trust in the unseen forces that nurture all creation. Let your dreams breathe. Release them from the cage of your anxiety. This is not abandonment. It is faith in action. When you loosen your grip on the how and when, you create space for the universe to orchestrate possibilities beyond your imagination. Sacred practice. Take your deepest desire and write it on a piece of paper. Feel the weight of your attachment to it, the years of wanting and waiting. Now place this paper in a small box or envelope. As you seal it, speak these words. I entrust this desire to the wisdom of the universe. I release the need to control its unfolding. Place the container somewhere out of sight, letting it become a symbol of your trust in divine timing. Chapter 15. The Echo of Inner Calm. In the grand concert hall, Lawrence stood frozen before his audience, bow trembling above the strings. For 30 years he had played with precision and passion, but lately each performance had become a battle against mounting pressure. The more desperately he tried to recapture his former mastery, the more discordant his music became. Until one evening he set down his violin and walked into the garden behind the concert hall, surrendering to the quiet of the night. You, like Lawrence, may have noticed how life mirrors your inner vibration. When you move through your days carrying tension, the world responds with chaos. Each worried thought creates a ripple that returns as external discord. This is not punishment, but physics, the law of attraction matching your frequency with mathematical precision. Your outer reality is not separate from you, but an extension of your inner state. Like a pond reflecting the sky, your circumstances mirror your deepest vibration. When anxiety rules within, confusion manifests without. When peace reigns in your heart, clarity dawns in your experience. Consider Viola, whose life as a single mother felt like an endless storm of urgent demands and mounting bills. Each morning she would rush through her routine, mind racing with worries, until exhaustion forced her to pause. In that moment of stillness, she discovered something profound. When she changed her inner rhythm, her outer world began to dance to a different tune. She started rising before her children, creating a sanctuary of silence in her kitchen. As she learned to breathe more slowly, to move more mindfully, to speak more softly, the chaos around her began to settle. Her children became calmer, solutions appeared more readily, and even time seemed to expand to meet her needs. This is the sacred science of manifestation. Your external reality calibrates to match your internal frequency. When you cultivate inner harmony, outer circumstances naturally align with that peace. The universe cannot help but echo your dominant vibration. Your role is not to fight against discord, but to establish harmony within. Like tuning a perfect pitch, when you align your inner tone with peace, the symphony of your life adjusts to match that resonance. Sacred practice. Create a 5-minute peace ritual that will serve as your daily tuning fork. Light a candle or incense, or simply sit in pure silence. Let this moment be your sanctuary of stillness. Feel the quiet expanding within you, replacing chaos with calm. When your inner waters have settled, write a single intention for your day, letting it arise from this place of peace rather than pressure. Chapter 16. Aligned action, not desperate motion. In the bustling marketplace, Otis darted from stall to stall, his leather briefcase swinging wildly as he chased potential customers. From sunrise to sunset, he moved without cease, speaking without pause, believing that more action meant more success. Yet despite his endless motion, prosperity remained elusive, like trying to catch wind in a net. You see, there exists a vital distinction between movement and progress. When action springs from fear or desperation, it carries a frequency that repels rather than attracts. The universe responds not to the volume of your effort, but to the vibration behind it. True manifestation flows from inspired action, movements that arise from inner alignment rather than outer pressure. When you pause to connect with the divine wisdom within, each step becomes infused with power. One aligned action achieves more than 1,000 scattered efforts. This truth reveals itself in the tale of Dorcas, who worked 3 jobs, attended endless networking events, and exhausted herself pursuing success. Yet transformation arrived not through her striving, but through a moment of surrender. One morning, instead of rushing to another meeting, she sat in silence and listened to her inner voice. It guided her to make a single phone call, one she had been avoiding out of fear. This aligned action, born of inner wisdom rather than external pressure, opened doors that years of frantic effort could not. The law of attraction operates through quality of energy, not quantity of motion. When your actions flow from soul guidance rather than societal pressure, you enter a stream of effortless power. Like a river that knows precisely where to flow, your energy moves with divine intelligence rather than human force. Your task is not to do more, but to align more deeply before doing. Each action taken from this centered place carries the full power of universal support. This is the sacred paradox. Less action, aligned with truth, creates greater impact than ceaseless motion, born of fear. Sacred practice. Before taking any action today, pause and ask, is this aligned or is this fearful? Let your breath settle and your mind quiet. Feel the difference between movement that springs from inner wisdom and motion born of anxiety. Then act only from that place of clear guidance. This simple pause will transform your doing from depleting to divine. Chapter 17. You are not your outcomes. In the halls of justice, Milton presided with unwavering authority. His black robe swept behind him like a mantle of power, each verdict delivered with the weight of mountains. For 30 years, his identity merged with his position until the line between who he was and what he did vanished entirely. Then came the day of his retirement. The robes removed, the gavel silent. Standing before his empty chambers, he faced a question that echoed through his soul. Who am I without this? You hold similar questions in your heart. The world has taught you to measure your worth through accomplishments, to define yourself through outcomes. Yet this ancient wisdom whispers of a deeper truth. You are not the roles you play, but the consciousness that animates them. When you attach your identity to results, you chain your spirit to the ever-shifting tides of circumstance. True power lies not in what you achieve, but in your alignment with the infinite source that flows through you. Your worth cannot be earned because it was never lost. It simply awaits your recognition. Gloria, a renowned pianist, discovered this truth when arthritis claimed her ability to play. For months, she believed she had lost herself along with her music. But in the silence of her imposed stillness, she uncovered something remarkable, a melody that had nothing to do with keys or strings. Her essence remains undiminished, her light unextinguished. Through this surrender, she found herself not lesser, but fuller, as though letting go of who she thought she should be revealed who she truly was. Your achievements do not create your value. They merely express it. Like waves rising from the ocean, your accomplishments spring from your being, but they are not your being itself. The ocean remains vast and complete whether its waves rise high or flow gentle. When you release the need to prove your worth through doing, you open yourself to a profound revelation. You are enough, simply because you are. This truth liberates you from the exhausting cycle of seeking validation through success. It allows you to act not from lack of proof, but from wholeness expressing itself. Sacred practice. Stand before a mirror and speak these words with quiet authority. I am enough before, during, and after any outcome. Let your gaze hold steady as you list 3 traits that define your being, not your doing. Notice how this declaration settles in your body, not as a hope to be proven, but as a truth remembered. Chapter 18. The Magnetic Power of Indifference. In the dimly lit casino, Albert's hands trembled as he clutched his cards. Each flip brought waves of anxiety coursing through his body. His entire world narrowed to the turn of a card, the roll of dice, the spin of a wheel. With every loss, his grip on hope tightened until desperation squeezed out all wisdom. Night after night he returned, believing the next hand would redeem all that came before, until nothing remained but the hollow echo of his need. You recognize this pattern in your own life. When you grip too tightly to outcomes, you create an energetic tension that repels the very things you seek. The universe responds not to your desires, but to your vibration. When that vibration hums with desperate need, you broadcast a frequency of lack that keeps fulfillment at bay. Sacred indifference stands as the master key to manifestation. This is not the cold shoulder of apathy, but the quiet confidence of one who knows their worth exists independent of results. It is the art of caring deeply while holding lightly, of taking inspired action without demanding specific outcomes. Consider Winifred, who spent years performing elaborate social dances to win approval. Her clothes, her words, her choices, all carefully calculated to impress. Yet the more she reached for validation, the more it eluded her. It was only when she released the need to be seen in a certain way that others truly began to see her. By stepping into self-possession, she activated a magnetic field of authentic power that drew others naturally into her orbit. This principle reveals itself throughout nature. Flowers don't strain to bloom, rivers don't force their flow. There exists a sacred rhythm of allowing that transcends the anxious push of human will. When you align with this rhythm, you enter a state of graceful detachment, where manifestation occurs as naturally as breathing. Your attachment to specific outcomes creates resistance in the field of infinite possibility. By releasing this attachment, you don't abandon your desires. You create space for them to manifest in ways far beyond your limited imagination. This is the paradox of sacred indifference. What you don't need often flows to you freely. Sacred practice. Throughout this day, whenever you feel the grip of attachment or the pull of desperate wanting, pause and speak these words. If it comes, I welcome it. If it doesn't, I still rise. Let each moment become an opportunity to practice emotional non-reaction. Notice how this stance of sacred indifference brings a profound peace, one that attracts more than anxiety ever could. Chapter 19. Living in the Question. In the bustling newsroom, Mabel's desk overflowed with research papers, each sheet representing another thread of investigation she refused to let go. Her colleagues marveled at her tenacity, but beneath her relentless pursuit of truth lay a deeper hunger, the need to know, to understand, to control through knowledge. Every unanswered question felt like a personal affront, every mystery a challenge to be conquered. When her greatest story fell apart, sources vanishing, leads dissolving, Mabel faced the void she had spent her life avoiding. In that space of not knowing, she discovered something profound. Questions could be companions rather than enemies. You too stand at this threshold between seeking and allowing. The universe operates through mystery, revealing its wisdom not to those who demand answers, but to those who remain open to revelation. When you release your grip on needing to know everything now, you enter a state of receptivity where deeper truths can find you. Consider Floyd, the astronomy professor who spent 30 years searching for evidence of life beyond Earth. His obsession with finding proof left him blind to the wonder already present in his work. One night, exhausted from decades of searching, he simply sat beneath the stars without agenda or expectation. In that moment of surrender, a memory surfaced, a childhood prayer asking for connection to the infinite. He realized he had been living the answer all along, his very quest a form of communion with the cosmos. The mysteries you face are not obstacles to overcome, but portals to deeper understanding. Each unknown contains a gift, the opportunity to develop trust in the unfolding of divine timing. Your questions are sacred invitations to dance with the universe in a more intimate way. When you stop demanding immediate answers, you create space for wisdom to arise naturally. This is not about abandoning curiosity, but transforming it from a tool of control into an instrument of wonder. True knowing often comes not through forceful investigation, but through patient attention to the whispers of intuition. Sacred practice. Take a moment now to write down one question that has been weighing on your heart, something you've been struggling to understand or figure out. Hold this paper in your hands, close your eyes, and begin to breathe deeply. As you settle into meditation, let these words flow through your mind. Reveal what I'm ready to know. Stay with this practice until you feel a subtle shift from seeking to allowing. Trust that the answer will unfold in perfect time, in perfect way. Chapter 20. The Frequency of Fulfillment. In the warmth of dawn, Genevieve kneaded dough with rhythmic precision, her hands moving as if guided by an ancient wisdom. For years she had measured her worth by the coins in her register and the praise of her customers. Each morning brought the weight of expectations. How many loaves would sell, what reviews would come, whether success would grace her doorstep that day. But one morning, lost in the meditation of creation, something shifted. As her hands shaped the dough, she felt a presence larger than herself moving through her. The act of creation became a prayer, each fold and turn a conversation with the divine. In that moment, she understood. Her joy had never dwelled in the selling, but in the sacred dance of creation itself. You too stand at this threshold of understanding. The universe responds not to what you achieve, but to what you embody. When you align yourself with the frequency of fulfillment, before the external signs appear, you become a magnet for that very experience. This is the hidden mechanism of manifestation. Feeling creates being, and being attracts having. Clyde, a renowned architect, chased accolades until exhaustion dimmed his vision. His designs won awards, his name graced magazines, yet satisfaction eluded him. One day, designing a simple garden shed, he felt something he hadn't experienced since his earliest days: pure joy in the act of creation. Without pressure or expectation, his work flowed from a place of natural alignment. That project, born of genuine passion rather than pursuit of success, ironically became his most celebrated work. This truth stands before you now. Fulfillment is not a destination, but a frequency you can access at any moment. When you shift your focus from obtaining to embodying, from pursuing to becoming, the universe responds to your energetic signature rather than your external actions. Your task is not to make things happen, but to become the energy of what you seek. When you vibrate at the frequency of your desire, feeling it as your current reality rather than a future hope, you transform from seeker to attractor. The outcome becomes inevitable because you have already become its energetic match. Sacred practice. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. See yourself at the completion of your heart's journey, not just achieving, but being. Feel how your body moves in that state of fulfillment, how your breath flows, how your heart beats. For the next 5 minutes, walk through your space as this fulfilled version of yourself. Let every step, every gesture, every thought emerge from this embodied state of completion. You are not practicing for a future moment. You are awakening to who you already are. Part 3. The Mastery of Effortless Manifestation. Chapter 21. The One Who Dwells in Trust. In the quiet hours before sunrise, Bernice sat in her healing room, surrounded by remedies and tinctures she had always relied upon. Her hands trembled slightly as she arranged her tools, a habit born from years of anxiety about whether she could truly help those who sought her care. Each morning brought the familiar weight of responsibility, the fear of not being enough. But on this day, something within her whispered differently. Instead of checking her supplies for the 10th time, she closed her eyes and surrendered to a deeper knowing. "Today," she breathed, "I trust completely." With those words, she felt an ancient tension release from her shoulders. As her first patient arrived with an ailment she had never encountered, instead of panic, she felt a curious calm. Rather than rushing to her books or doubting her abilities, she allowed her intuition to guide her hands. By day's end, she had helped more people than ever before, not through increased effort, but through decreased resistance. Trust is not a thought. It is a dwelling place. When you choose to reside in trust, you align with the natural flow of universal intelligence. Like a leaf carried by a stream, you move with rather than against the current of life. This alignment opens channels through which miracles naturally flow. Herman cast his nets into waters others had dismissed as empty. While fellow fishermen hugged the familiar shores, he felt drawn to venture further, guided by something he couldn't explain. No charts marked this spot. No logic justified his choice. Yet as he lowered his nets into the deep, he felt an inexplicable peace. That evening, his boat rode low in the water, heavy with a catch that defied local wisdom. You see, trust does not require evidence before action. It is not about knowing the outcome, It is about knowing the nature of the universe itself. When you vibrate in harmony with trust, you become a channel through which abundance naturally flows. Your role is not to direct the river, but to keep your vessel ready to receive. Like a cup turned upward to catch the rain, your openness creates the very space that abundance seeks to fill. This sacred alignment with universal forces transforms you into a natural conduit for blessings, both seen and unseen. The ancient masters understood this profound truth. It is not through grasping or controlling that we receive, but through the gentle art of allowing. Sacred practice. Place your hand upon your heart, feeling its steady rhythm, a reminder of the greater rhythm that moves through all things. Speak these words with quiet certainty. I dwell in trust. For the next hour, release all attempts to manage, direct, or control what unfolds. Let each moment arrive as it will, without interference. Notice how life flows when you step out of its way. Chapter 22. The Invisible Crown. In the heart of a bustling marketplace, Florence stood before her small shop window, arranging fabric with trembling fingers. For years she had moved through life with shoulders curved inward, as though apologizing for the space she occupied. Her talents with needle and thread were extraordinary, yet she priced her work as though it were ordinary, fearing to claim her true worth. Then came the morning when she remembered an ancient truth. You are born of stars, fashioned by divine hands. As this knowing settled into her bones, something shifted. Her spine straightened, her chin lifted, and her steps took on a different rhythm. She began moving through her shop, not as a servant to her fears, but as though invisible hands held her crown in place. When you choose to embody your divine inheritance, the universe responds in kind. Your energy field becomes a sovereign territory, and life itself adjusts to honor your inner royalty. This is not pride, it is alignment with your true nature. In the second story, Wallace pushed his broom through marble halls, cleaning the floors of a grand hotel. While others saw only his uniform, he carried himself with quiet dignity. He spoke to presidents and diplomats with the same genuine warmth he offered to fellow staff, neither groveling nor pretending. His presence carried such natural nobility that guests often mistook him for management. One evening, a king from a distant land paused to speak with him. "You move like someone who knows who they are," the monarch observed. Wallace smiled, understanding that true royalty needs no external validation. His crown was invisible, but no less real. Your worth is not earned, it is remembered. When you walk as though divinely supported, you activate an ancient frequency of abundance that has existed since the dawn of creation. The universe recognizes this vibration and responds accordingly, drawing to you circumstances and opportunities that mirror your inner knowing. Your role is not to prove your value, but to align with it. For you are already complete, already whole, already blessed with infinite potential. Like a flower naturally turning toward the sun, your spirit naturally gravitates toward this truth when you release the weight of doubt and unworthiness. Sacred practice. Stand tall, feeling the earth steady beneath your feet. Close your eyes and visualize a crown of golden light descending upon your head. Feel its warmth, its weight, its sacred responsibility. For the next 5 minutes, walk slowly and deliberately. allowing each step to carry the dignity of one who remembers their divine heritage. Let this inner royalty infuse every movement, every breath, every interaction. You are not becoming something new. You are remembering who you have always been. Chapter 23. Heaven responds to ease. In a small cottage overlooking misty hills, Irene spent her mornings scanning newspapers for catastrophes, her afternoons checking door locks, and her evenings worrying about tomorrow. Since losing her husband, she had fortified herself against life's uncertainties by expecting the worst. Yet this vigilance extracted a cost. She missed the sunlight dancing on her windowsill, the neighbor's kindness, the quiet abundance already present. You see, bracing against life creates a barrier through which even blessings cannot pass. When you constantly anticipate disaster, your energy field becomes rigid, repelling the very grace trying to reach you. One morning, exhausted from her vigil, Irene simply let go. Her shoulders dropped, her breath deepened, and in that sacred surrender she noticed, truly noticed, the fresh flowers on her table, the warmth of sunlight on her skin, the bird song that had always been there. As her guard dissolved, life's gentle mercies began flowing in. The universe operates through the law of ease. This is not the ease of laziness or avoidance, but the ease of trust, of allowing life to move through you rather than forcing it to bend to your will. When you soften your grip on existence, existence softens its grip on you. Consider Everett, a merchant who spent 40 years believing that success required strain. He would arrive at his shop before dawn, leave after dusk, his mind constantly churning with worry. Despite his efforts, prosperity remained elusive. Then illness forced him to rest. In those quiet hours of enforced stillness, he discovered something remarkable. The world continued turning without his anxious oversight. As Everett learned to trust the natural flow of commerce, to conduct business with relaxed attention rather than desperate focus, something shifted. Customers appeared at perfect moments. Opportunities arose effortlessly. What 40 years of striving had failed to achieve, 6 months of ease attracted naturally. Your resistance to ease stems from an ancient misunderstanding. That struggle somehow proves your worth. That suffering validates your journey. That strain marks you as deserving. Yet the universe responds not to your strain, but to your state. When you allow life to be easy, when you release the grip of anxious control, you align with the effortless flow of divine intelligence. Like a leaf carried downstream, you move in harmony with the current, rather than exhausting yourself fighting against it. The path of least resistance is not laziness, it is wisdom. Sacred practice. Choose one task today, something you typically rush through with tension. Perform it at half your usual speed, allowing your movements to become fluid and unhurried. As you move with deliberate ease, whisper this truth. I allow this to be easy. Notice how your energy shifts, how grace enters through the doorway of your surrender. This is not about doing less. It's about allowing more. Chapter 24. The Calm That Commands. In a bustling city apartment, Winona lived in a constant state of raising her voice, to be heard over the chaos of single motherhood, to assert her presence in a world that seemed to demand loudness. Each day began with shouted reminders and ended with exhausted pleas, her energy scattered like leaves in a storm. The universe speaks in whispers, not shouts. When you align with this truth, you discover that power flows not from volume, but from vibration. Your energy field becomes a beacon that requires no amplification. One evening, worn thin from another day of verbal battle, Winona simply stopped. In that pause, she felt something shift within her center. Rather than yelling upstairs to her children, she walked quietly to them. Instead of meeting chaos with chaos, she met it with grounded presence. A remarkable transformation unfolded. Her children began listening not to her words, but to her energy. This is the magnetic law of calmness. When you cultivate unshakable peace, the world leans in to hear you. Your settled energy becomes a gravitational force that naturally commands attention, respect, and alignment. Lloyd, a teacher in a remote village, struggled for years to capture his students' attention. He tried speaking louder, moving faster, filling every silence with words, yet understanding remained elusive. One day, struck by wisdom that seemed to arise from the earth itself, he began teaching differently. He spoke less. He moved slower. He allowed silence to become his partner in instruction. To his amazement, his classroom transformed. Students who once fidgeted now sat attentive. Those who had turned away now turned toward him. His quiet certainty became a force more powerful than any shout could achieve. Your calm is currency in the spiritual marketplace. When you stand unshakable in your center, you need not chase attention or validation. They are naturally drawn to your stillness. This is not the false calm of suppression, but the authentic peace that flows from deep alignment. Like a mountain lake reflecting the sky above, your tranquility creates a mirror in which others see their own potential for serenity. In this state of profound composure, you become a living testament to the power of inner stillness, attracting those who seek the same sacred quietude within themselves. The universe responds to your peaceful presence, orchestrating circumstances and connections that resonate with your deeper truth. Sacred practice. As you move through your day, pause before every response. Let this pause become your power posture. Draw a conscious breath, allowing it to anchor you in stillness. Notice how this small space between stimulus and response becomes a portal to power. Your calm response will ripple outward, transforming not just your interactions, but the very field of energy around you. This is how you become a living transmission of peace. Chapter 25. From Noise to Knowing. In the heart of a bustling metropolis, Francis lived surrounded by an endless cascade of notifications, advertisements, and the constant hum of urban life. Each morning brought a fresh assault of information, screens flickering with urgent messages, phones buzzing with demands, streets echoing with the relentless rhythm of progress. Her mind had become a crowded marketplace where wisdom could find no space to whisper its truth. When you live immersed in the world's ceaseless chatter, your inner voice grows faint. The universe speaks through intuition, but this sacred channel requires silence to transmit its messages clearly. One day, Frances followed an unexplained urge to leave the city behind. In a small cottage among ancient trees, she discovered what true quiet feels like. As the external noise faded, something within her began to stir, a knowing that had always been present but masked by the world's persistent static. In this sacred solitude, her inner compass reawakened, pointing toward truths that no external source could provide. Divine guidance flows not through the channels of logic or external validation, but through the still waters of inner knowing. When you create space for silence, you open yourself to wisdom that transcends the limited scope of worldly knowledge. Rufus spent his days amid the mechanical roar of factory machines, his thoughts drowned in industrial rhythms. One afternoon, during his lunch break, he looked up at the drifting clouds. In that simple moment of sky gazing, clarity descended like gentle rain. The answer to a question he had long struggled with arrived not through analysis or effort, but through surrender to stillness. Your deepest wisdom emerges not from the urgency of doing, but from the power of being. The universe's guidance requires no straining to hear, only the willingness to be still enough to receive. The voice of intuition speaks in the language of peace. It does not shout to compete with the world's noise. Instead, it waits for those moments when you choose to step away from the chaos and into the sanctuary of silence. Like a gentle stream flowing beneath winter ice, your inner wisdom moves quietly but steadily, carrying profound truths within its depths. When you learn to attune yourself to this sacred whisper, you discover that the universe has been offering guidance all along, patiently waiting for you to still the tempest of your racing thoughts and listen with your heart's ear. Sacred practice. Find a space where the world's voices cannot reach you. Sit in complete silence for 15 minutes, allowing your thoughts to settle like leaves on still water. Take your journal and write whatever emerges, without judgment or analysis. Trust that what flows through you in these quiet moments carries seeds of divine wisdom. This is how you tune your inner instrument to receive the universe's guidance. Chapter 26. No longer chasing, always attracting. In a quaint seaside town, Millie stood at her window each morning, watching couples walk hand in hand along the shore. Her heart ached with longing as she imagined herself among them, yet every attempt to find love left her more alone. She joined groups, attended events, and crafted the perfect profile, all in pursuit of connection. But love remained elusive, always one step ahead of her reaching hands. You may recognize yourself in Millie's story, the endless seeking, the careful calculations, the exhausting chase. Yet within this universal yearning lies a profound truth. Love, like all divine gifts, responds not to pursuit, but to presence. When you chase after love, you broadcast a frequency of absence. Your very pursuit becomes a declaration to the universe that love is somewhere else, someone else, something yet to come. This energy of seeking creates more seeking, an endless cycle of wanting that pushes away the very thing you desire. The shift occurs when you realize that love is not a destination, but a frequency you can embody now. It begins with becoming the love you seek, filling yourself first with the qualities you wish to attract. This is not passive waiting, but active magnetism. For Millie, transformation came when she stopped running after love and began radiating it instead. She tended her garden, wrote poetry, danced alone in her kitchen, not to attract anyone, but because these acts filled her with joy. In this state of self-contained wholeness, she became magnetic without trying. Gilbert's tale mirrors this truth from another angle. A dreamer with grand visions, he spent years knocking on every door, pushing his ideas onto anyone who would listen. His desperation to be heard created resistance in those around him. It was only when he stopped knocking When he began quietly building his vision instead of selling it, that opportunity sought him out. The universe responds not to your seeking, but to your state of being. When you shift from chasing to embodying, from wanting to having, you alter the energetic signature you broadcast to the world. This is the essence of manifestation, becoming the frequency of what you desire. Like a radio receiver that must be perfectly tuned to capture a specific station, your energy must align precisely with what you wish to attract. Through this profound understanding, you begin to recognize that the outer world merely reflects your inner state. By cultivating the feelings, thoughts, and vibrations of your desired reality within yourself first, you create an irresistible magnetic force that draws those experiences into your physical existence. Sacred practice. Take your journal and write down your deepest desire. Now, rewrite it as though it's already yours. Transform "I want to find true love" into "I am deeply loved and loving." Speak these words aloud with the full feeling of their reality. Let your voice carry not hope or yearning, but the quiet certainty of one who knows their truth. This is not pretense. It is energetic alignment with what is already yours. Chapter 27. Living Beyond the Timeline. In a world ruled by clocks and calendars, Lucinda lived by the tyranny of time. Each morning began with a meticulous review of deadlines. Each evening ended with anxiety about tomorrow's schedule. Her calendar wasn't just full. It was a prison of expectations. Each date circled in red ink, marking another moment when happiness must arrive. You see, time itself is neither enemy nor master. It is simply a construct through which eternal wisdom flows. When you grip tightly to deadlines for your desires, you create resistance to the natural unfolding of divine order. The universe operates not by human schedules, but through perfect timing, a symphony of synchronized moments that cannot be rushed or delayed. Your impatience sends ripples of discord through this divine orchestration, while your trust allows it to flow unimpeded. For Lucinda, transformation arrived when her carefully constructed timeline crumbled. In that space of surrender, she discovered that her obsession with when had been blocking the what. As she released her grip on time, life began moving with surprising grace. Consider Norbert, who had convinced himself that love's window had closed. At 58, he believed he had missed his chance for partnership. Yet in releasing this artificial deadline, he opened himself to possibility. On an ordinary Tuesday afternoon, while reading in the park he'd visited countless times before, he met the person who would become his life companion. The timing was neither early nor late. It was exact. This truth extends beyond relationships to every desire you hold. The universe's timing is neither slow nor fast. It is precise. Your role is not to push against time's flow, but to align with its rhythm. When you release your grip on when things must happen, you enter a state of timelessness where manifestation occurs naturally. This is not about abandoning action, but about surrendering the anxious need to control time's passage. In this sacred space of surrender, you align with the eternal rhythm of creation itself. Like a leaf floating downstream, you move with divine timing rather than against it. The universe's wisdom far exceeds our limited understanding of when events should unfold. By releasing your attachment to specific time frames, you open yourself to receiving blessings that may arrive in unexpected moments through unforeseen channels. Sacred practice. Take a blank page and write at its top, "I trust in divine timing." Below this declaration, list every area of your life where you've been clutching to deadlines and expectations. For each item you write, feel the relief of releasing it into the universe's perfect orchestration. Let this become your permission to exist in the eternal now, where all possibilities await their perfect moment of expression. Chapter 28. Presence as Portal. In a small cottage by the sea, Opal lived in perpetual motion. Her mind raced ahead while her body lagged behind, creating a gap where life's whispers could not reach her. Each morning, she would rush through her routine, missing the sunlight dancing on her kitchen wall, the meaningful glance of a stranger, the unusual pattern of birds outside her window. The universe spoke constantly, but she was too busy to listen. You may recognize yourself in Opal's scattered attention. The modern world pulls you in countless directions, fragmenting your awareness until you exist everywhere except the present moment. Yet it is only in presence that you access the power to create, to receive, to transform. The eternal now is not merely a concept, it is the only point of power that exists. When you drift into tomorrow's worries or yesterday's regrets, you abandon your seat of creation. The universe can only meet you where you actually are, not where your thoughts have wandered. Opal's awakening came on an ordinary Tuesday. Her phone had died, forcing her to sit in uncommon stillness with her morning tea. In that unexpected quiet, she noticed how the steam rose in spirals, how the sunlight caught each curl of vapor. Something shifted in that simple attention. A door opened. Later that day, she met the person who would change her career path, found the solution to a long-standing problem, and received an unexpected gift. These weren't coincidences. They were what had been waiting all along for her to notice. Barney, who spent 40 years at sea, discovered this truth in his retirement. Each morning, he would sit on his porch, fully present to every detail, the way leaves turned their silver bellies to the wind, how clouds gathered and dispersed, the precise moment when birds began their evening song. In this devoted attention, life began speaking to him. He knew when to bring an umbrella, though no rain was forecast, which friend needed a call before they reached out, where to walk to encounter exactly what he sought. His neighbors called it uncanny luck, but Barney knew. Miracles were simply what happened when you paid attention. Sacred practice. Choose one ordinary activity today, washing dishes, walking to your car, drinking water, and give it your complete attention for 10 minutes. No phones, no music, no distractions. Notice every sensation, every detail. Then write what you discovered in this deliberate presence. This is not about finding something spectacular. It is about recognizing that the spectacular already exists in everything, waiting for your attention to unveil it. Chapter 29. The Dance with the Divine. In a sunlit studio overlooking the city, Nora spent her days orchestrating every detail of her life as if conducting a symphony. Each morning began with lists, each hour marked by careful planning, each decision weighed against countless possibilities. Yet despite her meticulous arrangements, harmony eluded her. The more she tried to perfect her life's composition, the more discordant it became. You know this dance, the exhausting attempt to choreograph every step of your journey. But life moves to rhythms far more intricate than human planning can comprehend. The universe pulses with a wisdom that transcends your carefully plotted schedules and expectations. When Nora's carefully constructed plans finally collapsed, she discovered something extraordinary in the silence that followed. Without her constant directing, life began to move through her with unexpected grace. A missed appointment led to a chance encounter that opened new doors. A wrong turn revealed opportunities she could never have planned. She learned to pause before each decision, to sense the subtle current of divine timing, to move when moved upon rather than pushed by her own will. This is the sacred art of co-creation, not forcing your way forward but flowing with the intelligence that guides all things. Your role is not to direct the universe, but to attune yourself to its movement. Every moment carries a signal. Every circumstance holds a clue. Every seeming obstacle points toward alignment. Myron, a business strategist, discovered this truth when his 5-year plan dissolved overnight. In the midst of what seemed like chaos, he began to notice small promptings, an unexpected phone call, a book falling open to a specific page, a recurring symbol that caught his attention. Instead of rushing to rebuild his plans, he followed these subtle signs. Each step revealed itself naturally, leading him down a path far richer than anything he could have designed. These stories mirror an eternal truth. When you release your grip on how life should unfold, you open yourself to how it could unfold. The universe orchestrates with an intelligence that surpasses human understanding. Your task is not to direct this intelligence, but to dance with it. Sacred practice. Choose one small decision today and pause before acting. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and ask for divine guidance. Wait for the softest sense of knowing, not the loud voice of your mind, but the quiet whisper of your soul. Then move forward based on this gentle intuition. This is not about receiving dramatic signs, but about learning to trust the subtle way Spirit speaks through your own inner wisdom. Chapter 30. The shift has happened. On a quiet morning, Sylvia sat in her garden, not waiting for life to begin, but finally sensing its presence in every breath. For decades she had lived in anticipation, always believing that fulfillment lay in some future moment. When I achieve this, when I become that. These thoughts had created an invisible wall between her and the life she sought. You may recognize this pattern in your own journey. The endless preparation, the constant feeling of not yet ready. But in this moment, as you read these words, a profound truth is emerging. There is nothing to wait for, nothing to become. The shift you seek is not a distant horizon, but an inner awakening to what already exists. Like Sylvia, who one day noticed that her garden had always been blooming, you too are discovering that your power has never been dormant, only unrecognized. Clinton, a retired schoolteacher, spent 30 years searching for wisdom in ancient texts and far-off temples. One morning, while making his bed, a simple act he had performed thousands of times, he began to laugh. The revelation struck him with gentle force. He had been looking everywhere except where the answer had always resided, within himself. What you are experiencing now is not a journey toward something new, but an unveiling of what has always been. The law of attraction is not about becoming someone else. It is about allowing who you truly are to emerge from beneath the layers of doubt, fear, and false waiting. Every teaching in this book has led you here, to this recognition. You are not incomplete, seeking completion. You are wholeness itself, remembering its nature. The shift is not a future event. It is the present moment awakening to itself through you. Like a wave realizing it has always been the ocean, your journey of self-discovery is not about becoming something new, but about unveiling what has always existed within you. The ancient sages understood this profound truth, that enlightenment is not a distant shore to reach, but the very ground beneath your feet. Your search ends where it began, in the eternal now, where all possibilities already exist in their perfect fullness. Sacred practice. Find a quiet space and sit with these words. I am no longer becoming, I am being. Let them settle into your consciousness not as an affirmation to be achieved, but as a truth being remembered. Then, take pen to paper and write a letter to your past self. Acknowledge not just the distance traveled, but the wisdom that was present even in your seeking. This is not an exercise in reaching a destination. It is a recognition that you were never truly lost. Conclusion. And so you have arrived, not at an ending, but at a beginning. Through these chapters, you've witnessed the quiet revolution that takes place when the soul exhales its ancient tension. You've discovered that letting go is not an act of resignation, but of profound power. Look back now at the path you've walked. See how each release has been a doorway, each surrender a step into greater alignment. The universe has been waiting for this moment, when you finally trust enough to lay down your weapons of worry and control. What you hold now is not just understanding, but embodiment. The shift has already taken place within you. It happened in the spaces between the words, in the moments you choose trust over tension, flow over force. You are no longer the seeker striving for transformation. You are the transformed being remembering their true nature. This wisdom you've uncovered is not something to guard or perfect. It is a living truth that deepens with each breath of acceptance, each moment of conscious surrender. Your power now lies not in what you do, but in how you are. The world around you will continue its dance of duality, of gains and losses, ups and downs. But you have found your center in the eye of the storm. You've learned to rest in the knowing that all is well, even when appearances suggest otherwise. This is your new foundation, not built on the shifting sands of circumstance, but on the bedrock of inner alignment. You've discovered that the universe's language is not one of push and pull, but of magnetic resonance. Your role now is simply to maintain the frequency of trust, to embody the peace that attracts rather than chases. Welcome to your new way of being. The journey continues, but you walk it now as one who knows, truly knows, that letting go is the ultimate form of power. Your journey doesn't end here. Click on this next audiobook that I promise will completely transform your perspective,